sunlight. Desire is burning in your eyes. I try to spot you in the haze. Can we erase this big place? I really wanna
Welcome. We are back. Another day in the market. CPI numbers tomorrow. This is from Reuters. Analysts are expecting CPI to show a sharp pullback in monthly growth, cooling to 0.2% in April from 1.2% in March, the biggest monthly jump in more than 16 years, and an annual increase of 8.1%, 0.4 percentage points lower than the prior 8.5%. which was the hottest reading since December of 1981. So we're kind of getting to a point where a lot of people think that inflation at this point should start to cool. And if we don't see that tomorrow, it could lead to increased downside. But yeah, basically, different websites are going to give you different numbers that different analysts are predicting. And we'll see what happens. So I think just generally, I think under 8% would be good. Don't quote me on that. I mean, we'll see what this market wants or not. And I think anything close to or higher than last month's reading will not be good. But we're going to see in the morning. Again, what I care about the most when it comes to stuff like this is how people react, right? You can always have your own opinion on the news, but your opinion on news technically doesn't matter. I mean, it matters if you know what you're doing, but it's not going to move the market. It's the overall consensus of all the market participants that move the market together, right? So we're going to see that tomorrow. Tonight's stream is going to be a lot of if CPI is good, if CPI is bad, if then this, then this. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'll talk about the case in which, let's say, numbers are good and we go up, what levels to look for, and then vice versa. If numbers are not looking good, we gap down, what levels to look for. We're going to kind of structure tonight's stream around that, and then we'll talk about some other individual names. Let me switch the music. Alright, so hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Before we even get into stocks and my thoughts in the overall market, let's talk about crypto, which, not surprised, has been selling off. I don't think you took out the lows from last night's stream, so you're still just testing this little support area over here from these lows back from January and last summer of 2021. And yeah, that's really it. Pretty much looks the same as last night. Got a little bit of a bounce, but nothing really too crazy. Definitely don't have hidden bullish divergence anymore for Bitcoin, so there's that. That's really where you're at right now. Maybe you got some classic bullish divergence on the RSI on the daily, but you just need more data for right now. If we move over to Ethereum, this is still testing its support zone, so blue zone over here. I probably wouldn't call that hidden bullish divergence as well, so we're just waiting for more data. There was this today, which was crazy. So yeah, Luna has fallen from 119 to $17. I mean, it's a crazy drop. Just to today alone of 40. So like, let's just go to the week. All right, on the week, 74%. All right, it's lost 74% of its value in 1 week. It's It's crazy. And I tweeted out earlier, is this, you know, is this a crypto? Is this an altcoin, or is this a growth stock? Because we do have some growth stocks doing very, very similar things, right? Such as Coinbase. Yeah. Moving on to some other markets before we talk about the overall stock market. Let's talk about crude oil first. I don't know. Down 1% today. We still got like 3 days left in the week, but this could be a bearish engulfing on the weekly. It closes like that. Going over to the daily, just a little bit of fall through to the downside after that bearish engulfing yesterday. I'd say right now you're just sandwiched in between like this low over here and this high over here. Gold testing the 200-day moving average. I just see how it reacts to that. Silver is testing a breakdown. All right, this is the lowest price silver has seen since July of 2020, so just months after the COVID crash, which is very interesting. It's actually testing a breakdown of this zone. You're still maybe testing this high from July of 2016, but apart from that, it's a little bit scary. And then moving on to the dollar currency index, this is at its highest price in a long time. It actually broke above these highs. If we go over to the weekly, it broke above these highs. So these are your highest prices since 2002 at this point. You're testing a breakout of these little highs over here from 16 and 20. If that breaks, I'd say next level to look for on the weekly is around 106 from this high in 89. All right. And then the Hang Seng Index down 2%. Looks like yet another gap down. This might have been actually, no, this was today. A little bit confused from this stuff. I feel like we already had like 2 gap downs, so I don't know. Maybe I'm just confused here, but nothing really too different there. It's kind of the same thing. All right, so now moving on to the overall market. CPI numbers are the main focus as of right now. We got to see how those numbers are reacted to in the morning. We're gonna act. All right, obviously those numbers are the key focus, and you need to pay attention to those numbers tomorrow morning. But as of right now, I have no clue what those numbers are going to be and how people are going to react to those numbers. So for the sake of the stream, we're going to have to just talk as if the numbers aren't coming out tomorrow morning. So everything I say from this point onwards, just remember, yes, it all depends on CPI. But just in terms of the price action, all right, we kind of have 2 similar days to start off the week, just kind of ranging between like 396 and 406. All right, you've got this 10-point range on the SPY. You have this clear resistance around 405, 406 right over here. Then you're finding a little bit of support right over here on 396, 395, okay? So just a little 2-day range that you've created. In general, I think a break over like 406.5, 407 would be a breakout to the upside, and then a break under today's low would be a downside breakout. There's not much of any supports here. I mean, all the way down to like 384. So if you're just kind of hoping that somehow CPI saves the market and we can get back above 400 and hold it. If not, I mean, there's no other supports like in the short term. You're kind of still under support in the short term. But again, that could, you only have to go up like 0.5% to reclaim it. So it's not like it's impossible. It's very easy if we get the right move at the right time. But going down to lower time frames on the SPY, you've got some potential classic bullish divergence on the 4-hour. Keep an eye on that. On the 1-hour, you've got some triple classic bullish divergence on the RSI, and you're still kind of like looking like a falling wedge to me. I wouldn't even say that it broke out yet. I still think this is just testing the breakout of this falling wedge going into tomorrow. So keep an eye on this as well. So a good CPI reading can break you out of this wedge, and you have wedges everywhere. They're all over the place. I mean, we could just really quickly look. I mean, QQQ, that's a 1-hour wedge. Russell 2000, that's a 1-hour wedge. You can go to individual names. There's a 1-hour wedge on Tesla. We can go over to MU. Let's go over to the 30-minute. There's a wedge right over there. Like, they're literally everywhere. We can go over to the ARK ETF. There's a 1-hour wedge. What about AMD? There's a 1-hour wedge as well. So you're seeing very, very similar formations across the board right now. And it would be really cool if they all play out together, to maybe give us a couple nice days after weeks and weeks of red. But you're going to need that CPI to be okay first. We'll see. And then moving on from the SPY, we'll go over to the QQQ. Very similar. It's trying to hold around like 296. You're still testing these highs and lows from the past. If you can, start getting back above this zone, there's not much resistance to like 316. If you can't get above this zone, you've got this gap fill at 277, and then very similar for the NASDAQ. You've got a gap fill at 11.2k that we talked about last night. And looking at the NASDAQ, I kind of view this as a wedge. You're holding the demand line for right now on the NASDAQ, which is good. We'll see whether or not it can continue to hold the wedge. It's a little bit scary because you're also under this very important inflection zone, this blue zone. So we're hoping, all right. And then on lower time frames, let's see. 4-hour classic bullish divergence is developing. This is interesting. All right, you got 4-hour classic bullish divergence developing on pretty much the large cap indices right now. I have this little broadening wedge charted on the NASDAQ on the 4-hour. You could probably chart the same thing on the QQQ. And then the 1-hour, we already talked about the wedge. I think maybe the QQQ wedge already broke out and it's back testing. They're all still just relatively just testing their breakouts. And then moving on to the Russell 2000, another one with a very clean looking wedge. And the one difference, and we talked about this last night, between the Russell and like the other indices is that the Russell actually is at a level. But just we'll get to there in a second. On the 4-hour, you have triple classic bullish divergence developing. And you kind of broke this demand line weirdly, but it is what it is. But however, if you go over to the weekly, 170, okay. I said last night on stream that you were only 3% away from the level, okay, or 2% away from the level, and that was your low of the day today, 171. So you are for right now holding support, okay. Very key level for all of you small cap traders. You have multiple highs here from the past, and this is also your 50% retrace from the COVID crash low to your all-time high on the Russell 2000. 170 is the key level. You got a nice bounce pretty close to that level today. Hopefully you can keep holding it. I mean, eventually this could even turn into classic bullish divergence. You're oversold on the weekly. These are the variables you're going to be looking for on the S&P and the NASDAQ. They're just not there yet on the S&P and the NASDAQ, right? So it is interesting that the Russell is showing them first, but also small caps and mid caps and large and not large caps. Small caps and mid caps were kind of like the first ones to fall. So now they, you know, if we can hold these levels, they're already beating down a lot more than large caps. Maybe they can start going up first. We'll see. Moving on to energy, doji candle for the XLE energy select sector today. Started off the day with the bearish engulfing on the 4-hour, then kind of an inside candle. Not much here to really talk about, to be honest. So that's my thoughts on the market going into tomorrow. I don't know what the CPI numbers will be. In general, I'm just going to be looking at it like this. Let's go over to the 1-hour. Like this whole entire area, I'm just going to be looking at it as just one big range, okay? Might as well even set alerts over here. Set an alert if this breaks down. Set an alert if it's testing a breakout. And just, we'll see what happens. And then of course, watching the wedge at the same time. So that's the overall market. What else should we start with? We start with Fisker and CLOV, which were both down about 1% today. But Fisker was down quite a bit more in the morning. Fisker pretty much retested all-time low state. And last night I did say that was your next level of support. I did even say last night that short term was looking a little bit just not great. I said I wasn't a fan of how it broke this lows, and you definitely did go lower, and you tested the next and final level to test, which I said last night is what I'd be looking for. But yeah, you bounced off of it. You got a 5-6% bounce off of your previous all-time low, which is interesting. You also got close to like a daily bullish pin bar candle. So in terms of Fisker, you clearly have your support around 870-ish. If that breaks, there is no horizontal support after that. So hopefully you can hold. All right. And then resistance, go over to the 1-hour, is this blue zone over here. The zone that used to be support between 960 and 1030 is now resistance. Okay. So that's now your resistance. And I just extended this really large down sloping channel. We'll see what happens. And moving on to CLOV. It went right up to the resistance. If you watched last night's stream, I did say that like $2.90 to $3 was your resistance. I might have even said $2.88. I don't really remember. It doesn't really matter. It's 2 cents different. But you pretty much went right up to that resistance point. We were looking at it over here, and you just topped out there, and you sold off really, really harshly. So I told you I had a lotto calls coming into today. They were up, I think, like 90% the open. I took profits on them. And then I tried to get back into those same calls, like down like over here, and then I pretty much gave back not all of what I made on the lotto calls like at the open, but like a good amount of it on like this move down. Like it was very rough. It was very rough. I mean, from the highest point of the day to the close, you fell 19%. Okay, so it definitely was rough. You know, and if you would have somehow closed this candle right over here and not dumped, you would have broken out. But again, you gotta wait for that candle close confirmation. Right now, there's a gap fill around 220-ish on CLOV. After that, there's a gap fill around $2, pretty much retesting all-time lows. Those are two levels you can look for support. I mean, honestly, we could just chart it like this. Like, you even have these lows over here. So you've got this support over here. And then if this breaks, then yeah, just $2, right? So you're just kind of in between two levels for right now on CLOV. So we're just waiting to see which way you can break to. Zeke, you were mentioning RDBX last night on the stream. This actually is testing a breakout of this wedge. I did pick up some calls, so I think I'm flat on them. But this is interesting. Now I'm just going to be running through my watch list. The ARK ETF on the daily is testing a very key level, $40. All right, this level is from right over here, this low, these couple of lows, this low over here. So very, very key level being tested on the ARK ETF. It's like the final point. I mean, if it's going to be a bat, you want this to reverse right here. This is if you remember last night on stream, I talked about these lows. You tested them today. You're kind of still testing them after hours. It did go down with a lot of Cathie Wood stocks as they're now coining them, dumping after hours, one of them being Coinbase. So yeah, this is your level. You're under it after hours. I think you're like 39 something. I don't really remember, but we'll see if it can hold it or not. And let's go back over to MU and Tesla. So MU, I'm keeping an eye on the daily, this falling wedge. It's all about 66, right? This is a support. It's very close to support. You've got that like triple classic bullish divergence on the daily inside of a wedge. On the 4-hour chart, well, I didn't really chart the 4-hour. On the 1-hour chart, you've got this downsloping channel, close to hitting bullish divergence, a higher low potentially. On the 30-minute and the 15-minute, you kind of tested a breakout of this wedge and then you fell back into it. I actually alerted some calls like on this breakout test today, and I just marked them as a break even, which thankfully I did because then it really fell. Yeah, that was a move on MU. Still, if this can break back out of the wedge tomorrow, that would be interesting to take a look at. And now moving over to Tesla. On the daily, potential hidden bullish divergence that needs to develop. On the 4-hour, you've still got like that bullish bat with some potential triple classic bullish divergence. On the 1-hour, you've got a wedge and some classic bullish divergence. On the 30-minute, you've got this little descending broadening wedge here, also just above this very, very important support zone. We go down to the 15-minute, got this little wedge and breakout with a back test. I've also charted some levels here. All right, so I'm keeping a very, very close eye on Tesla for the next few days. Definitely do have some variables here. No certainty it'll bounce here, but it's a pretty decent reward to risk area if it can. I mean, just in general. So we'll see what happens, but you know, the time frames, maybe apart from the daily, are kind of all lined up. If all of that fails on like, you know, those lower time frames, then I'd say to the downside, like 756-ish from these lows could be tested next. So those are the two different ways I'm looking at Tesla. Well, really, it's a one way. The one way is like more bullish. If it fails, so then I'd be looking for 756. Twitter today, I think we talked about that breakdown last night on stream, and yeah, it certainly did. Let me delete this for a second. You got this breakdown from this $48 level from these lows, and we talked about this gap for last night. You filled that gap, you even went lower, and it just bounced up a little bit in the afternoon. What else? I don't know. I'm just running through my watch list, seeing what's there. Coinbase got crushed after hours. If we just do this, yeah, it's pretty brutal. Pretty brutal, from $429 to $62 in just over 1 year. That's Coinbase. So what else went crazy today? Peloton was down quite a bit. It was down 9% today. It actually was down a lot more at one point, and then it bounced up. Like, I mean, off the lows, it made a 15% move. So at one point, Peloton, I think, was down 20% today. I just haven't seen moves like these, like on so many different stocks, like since the COVID crash. It's really crazy. And then on the flip side, you have other stocks that were beaten down that had big jumps today, such as FUBO. This was up 15% today. I mean, it's crazy. Like, if we zoom out, 15% looks like absolutely nothing. Like, you can't even tell that it was up 15%. Hey, look, let me just delete everything. You can't tell that FUBO was up 15% just looking at that. But, you know, just because of how crushed these stocks are, like, literally a 44-cent move is up 15% for FUBO. So, FUBO is up a lot today. Vroom, which really is sold off for a long time. Again, like, you can barely tell, but it was up 32% at the close. I mean, and I think at the high of the day, it was up like, actually, it's about the same. Hold up. This was actually yesterday's close. It was up like 80% today, and it's only where it was like at the end of last month, right? So it's just crazy to see these moves coming out of, I wouldn't say out of nowhere. It's after months and months of just selling off. But you are testing this little breakout over here for Vroom. Change this. Got that little breakout test, and then just longer term, I just charted it like this running wedge. But crazy moves across the board. Eric says vibes, y'all. Thank you, or thanks for your help in the stressful market champ and FTM community. Thank you all for watching. This week has been not good for me. I recovered a little bit after hours, but roughest start to like the week for me in months, I think, probably since like January. So hopefully we could have some fun the next few days. We got a few ideas up my sleeve, some of which I may or may not have talked about on stream already, but we'll see what happens. And yeah, I guess we could just do take requests now, just chilling. It was a pretty quick breakdown tonight. I mean, that took me 20 minutes. Wow. So if you want me to look at a stock or crypto or whatever it is, just drop it in the chat. I'm just going to spend most of the stream just looking at whatever you all want me to look at, to be honest. Didn't really come too prepared for it tonight. And also, I'm mainly just waiting to see what the CPI numbers are. And there's no swings to talk about. We could do some options recaps. I don't know how much I alerted today, though. Oh, I did alert quite a few, or just a few. Actually, no, I alerted like 4 different ones today. Okay. So yeah, we'll do. So drop tickers in the chat. I'll get to them in a little bit if you want me to look at them. Hit the like button and subscribe button. I'm just gonna run through like trade breakdowns. We'll start with the one outside of premium. So also, this is I think the 7th winning option idea in a row outside of premium. So just in this swing alerts channel that's available to all of you. The Discord link is in the description. It's free to join. You get all these for free. But this one yesterday I think went up like 95%. This was alerted to all of you. This went up 95% yesterday. And then this one alerted today went up 200% today. So yeah, nice moves. About 11:10 I alerted QQQ lotto calls. So let's see. All right, I mean, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much low of day. Pretty much low of day I alerted QQQ lottos. I'm looking at that correctly. So we saw, remember this wedge we talked about last night coming into today? I saw that it was back testing this wedge. I saw that it had filled this gap, and I alerted this. You also had some 5-minute hidden bullish divergence. There was, on top of all of that, a bullish bat on the 5-minute chart, and boom, played out beautifully, like literally textbook. And technically, if you just saw the bat, which again I did share the bat when I originally sent the analysis. If we can find it right over here. If you literally just play this textbook up to the second level I charted, which I know my screen's cutting out the right side of it, but if you just play the C point of the bat, like it played out, like right there, boom, just hit it and then it pulled back. So 200% on those QQQ lottos. It's really that simple. I also alerted IWM. Let's go to over here. That only hit 20%. Yeah, I noticed this inverse head and shoulders on the IWM, this little wedge forming, and it offered like 3 different moves from like the $127 premium to like 150 something, but gave a nice few moves. That was like the first premium alert of the day. 20% a few times, nothing much. And then after that, I alerted SPY calls, it seems. So at 10:50 when I alerted SPY lotto calls, I think, yeah, these ones were rough. Okay, so I originally alerted them when the SPY was first back testing this wedge, and basically it ended up coming down to like over here pretty much. So this one was like this is probably the worst option idea of the week so far, I think. Yeah, so I was gonna market right if yesterday's low was broken. I was waiting for the 5-minute candle close. We got a little, you know, fake hope for like a second, and then you know, it was holding it. Yeah, I was giving a lot of updates on this one too. It created this wedge, like it was looking good, and it went from like down like 30-40% all the way back up to even, and then it just fell, and it was pretty rough. I personally also stopped out of SPY here, and it was probably like I was down much more yesterday than I was today, but I felt way worse today because this is the first time in a long time I've sold the low of day. Like I did the exact opposite, because after this the SPY rallied like I think up to like over here. I mean, I don't know, it's like at the time you were breaking yesterday's low, today's low, this little intraday range, you had candle close confirmation. There wasn't decent amount of volume to an extent. Like there was really no way for me to know that it would just spring back above it, but it did, and it screwed me over. It screwed this option idea over. It was pretty rough, to be honest. And then I ended up sharing some MU calls, and then this, I just noticed that it was just kind of changing. I originally noticed the cup and handle. I alerted the calls probably like right over here. They went up maybe like 10% or something. Then I spotted this wedge, and I just marked it as a break even, as you could see over here. I said marking MU as break even. Technically it was up when I said that. It was up like 2 cents per contract, but yeah, you could see this wedge did play out, so thankfully it was marked to break even. So yeah, it just broke down. But that was really it from today. So basically, in premium, winner on IWM, loser on SPY, break even on MU, and then outside of premium, a huge winner on QQQ. So that was a breakdown from options today, and yeah. And then actually I trade, let's just say I did something I usually don't do, but it worked out, okay? After hours. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Basically, I traded crypto and I made back like maybe like a third of what I lost today after hours, which it'll help me sleep a little bit better. But I don't know. I never do that anymore. I used to do that like back in the day, like when Dogecoin was going crazy and like the market was closed. I would trade Dogecoin like in the evening, and it would just like, it would fix a lot of my red days. But also if you don't trade correctly, it makes a red day a really red day. So like, I don't know, but I did it today. It worked out a little bit. So that was what happened with me today. But yeah, I lost a lot more yesterday, but I'm still more frustrated from today, just because that SPY low of day sell. I mean, because I would have been up quite a bit if I didn't sell there. Blink. I'd say it's testing the demand line of this wedge. Oversold on the daily. This is a key level of $15, $14.69. This high over here from 2018. This high over here from 2020. Open all-time lows. A lot of these charts just look like huge wedges. I'm going to show you another one right after this, but another just huge wedge. I do think a good amount of them will play out over time. However, you could also see a lot of them, like, you know, it looks like this wedge, like if we zoom out, like, oh my gosh, like just a textbook retrace of this wedge would be like, come on, textbook retrace would be like 130%. It looks like it's ready to go. But the thing is, with these like super large, like 2-3 year wedges that we're now seeing on a lot of these like growth stocks and mid caps and whatnot, the issue is like they can still do this. They can still like fully complete the wedge. And the issue with that is if you're just trying to play, because if you zoom out and you say, oh my gosh, this wedge is at the apex, and this looks like it's barely any room left, that room that looks like it's nothing left in the wedge, if it does like fully fill out the wedge on a lot of these stocks, is like, you know, that could be like a 35% drop. And if we zoom out, like, again, it's really hard to tell that. That's what you got to be careful with. And that's why, like, trust me, if I could just alert like huge long-term wedges right now, you would have seen like 40 of them on the swing sheet right now. The thing is, like, you still, even though they look like they're at the apex, you still got to time them. And I know I just repeated that like 5 times because I really want a lot of you to understand that. But in general, a lot of these types of charts are very good to just keep on your watch list. Because eventually I think a lot of them can and will break out. QS is another one. Thankfully, I never alerted this swing. Is it going to pop up? Might be on the weekly. Thankfully, I never alerted this swing. But yeah, this was actually going to be a swing like, I don't know, a month, like over here in March. And I just thought, like, let me just wait a little bit. It was testing a breakout. I'm like, maybe it doesn't, and it didn't. But like, here's another one. Like, it's so easy to find these just insanely large wedges. Lump in the chat saying UWMC is another one. I might even have it charted on the daily. No, I don't. There you go. And this one's a little bit different. This one's actually testing a breakout right now, which is very interesting. I'll keep this on my watch list, but there's just a lot of charts that look just like this. So, you know, short term, there still could be more downside within these wedges and those apex areas that look like they're little, but still can be a lot of percent to the downside. And then long term, a lot of these wedges, again, some of these wedges we're looking at, I'm not going to name names because I have no clue which names, but some of them really can create, like, and I hate using this term because people take it so seriously, but it is pretty serious. They can create generational wealth. Like, if you find the right setup of one of these wedges, and if it does play out textbook, right, the percent gains, because of how many of these stocks have fallen 80 to 90% from their highs, the percent gains just to make common retraces could be life-changing. That's literally facts. But again, it's not going to be on all of them, and it's going to be very hard to trade all of them perfectly, even if it were to somehow be on all of them, which it won't be. So I think we already looked at open. Hit the like button if you don't already. Hit the subscribe button. TWLO, another one. Same thing. You know, we're just kind of looking at the same charts, just different tickers. So again, like, it looks like, all right, this is at the end of the wedge. It's time to go. But if you really zoom in here, it's been looking like it's been at the end of the wedge for like a month or two at this point. And, you know, again, just within this, you know, there's still 17% lower. And there's always a chance that it breaks the demand line of the wedge. You know, not all of them are going to break up. Wedges can break down. But yeah, this is another one chart. This is a very key level over here. If it does, like, really, imagine this plays out like all the way to the end. Like, it goes like all the way over here. You got this support at 70 bucks from this low over here and this high over here. So that's TWLO. I mean, yeah, I need to start creating like a mega watch list, because 2-3 months, a lot of these wedges can really be playing out, maybe even sooner on some of them. And I want to have like a good amount of them charted. My watch lists are really unorganized right now. But these are the times to be making those long-term watch lists, in my opinion. I'm not saying these are the times to be going all in on the market. I don't know when the bottom is, but I do think this is certainly the time where you should be scanning a lot on high time frames in your daily and weekly. There's not much I can do here. I mean, I guess you could just look at this whole thing like that, but it doesn't really do anything for you. I don't know. That's just like the loose way I could chart that. There's just not much to do on that chart. Nike 104 would be the next technical level I see from these highs over here. I think those are pre-COVID highs. And that's also your 618. So I think the technical area in Nike is 104, 105. All right, 618 pre-COVID highs. That's the area I'd be keeping a very close eye on if/when it gets there. American Airlines, I just redraw this. I'd probably just do like that. All right, descending broadening wedge. Any time in which it starts curling and it gets back up to this demand line would be a partial decline, as long as it doesn't do this first. Okay, so if you can somehow curl at any area above retesting this demand line, then you could have a partial decline. Again, it's really not easy to time that, but that's what it is right now. And this hasn't even gotten back to pre-COVID highs, unlike a lot of other stocks we look at, which is interesting. On the weekly, it's like a massive dragon pattern that's broken out and is now back testing the breakout. All right, next one is Money Champ. Got me there. So yeah, any other tickers to look at? Like, I'm cool to look at as many as you all want. I mean, not as many as you all want. Now you're gonna keep me here all night, but I don't know. I want to keep the streams longer, but if we're just waiting on CPI for tomorrow, and it's just one of those days, which for me it definitely feels like it's just one of those days. We can take one day a little bit lighter on the stream. I know I said I want to, do longer streams again, but just let me know what the vibes are in the chat. I have a lot of levels charted on ATER already. It looks like you kind of tested this 314 level and bounced off of it today. You've got a gap fill and resistance around 396, $4 pretty much. It's not going to be a textbook harmonic. Maybe you can look at it like this though. A cipher, bullish cipher. We've already bounced 12% off the PCC. I just keep an eye on this 314 support level. SARK, hitting a supply line. Overbought. This looks, the trend is bullish, but like short term this looks bearish to me. Like the overall trend, you're making higher highs, you're making higher lows. It's the opposite of the ARK ETF, but like short term, like you're hitting a supply line. All you've done every single time you've hit this is pull back. Maybe you count this one, maybe you don't, but this one you can count. And then I'm sure it's probably at its upper Bollinger Band. Yeah, so it's kind of like the opposite of what we do on the SPY on the daily. Remember when we look for those high volumes with the lower Bollinger Bands? You're kind of getting that same exact thing. It's high volume at your upper Bollinger Band, and you have a supply line, and you overbought on the RSI. I might have a little bit of a bias here because I have ARK calls that are down 50% right now. But yeah, that's where it's at. So maybe ARK bounces, maybe. It's all about this level that it's testing that we talked about earlier. All about this level right here, $40. These lows over here, hopefully you can hold them again. We'll see. GameStop. Just keep an eye on this support zone. Hopefully it holds it. If not, I mean, if it breaks that, then might have to go over to the weekly, but it looks like 48's after that. Actually, no, you got 64. So these are the next levels: 64, 58, 48. If you end up breaking this little zone of support between $78 to $88, you're testing it right now. On the daily, on the 4 hour, you might have this little bit of a wedge or down sloping channel. That's GameStop, Neo. Retesting a very key level over here, kind of these highs from 2018, and you're retesting your lows of this year. So 1290-ish, very key level for Neo. If it can hold it, then there's not much resistance to like $20, maybe a little bit around 18. But if it can hold it, that would be pretty nice. We'll see. CPI is the biggest potential catalyst for up or down market guidance right now, kind of like earnings report for all tickers. Keeps interesting. Yeah, we were talking about that at the beginning of the stream. Everything I talk about tonight, it's kind of at the mercy of how the market reacts to CPI in the morning. Keep the like button if you didn't already. Hit that subscribe button. Join the Discord. The link's in the description. Check out all the links in the description. And yeah, futures are a little bit green, but relatively flat. Yeah, let me know any other takers that you all want me to look at. How are your finals going? I finished them. I'm done with this semester. They went well apart from one class. Thank you for asking though. Mara 1386. I'm not a fan of how it broke that. I was looking at Mara and Riot earlier today. I think Riot looks a little bit better to me. Go take a look at that. Riot's coming close to the 614 level from these lows and this high. Like there's a lot of different highs and lows at 614. Mara, I mean, Riot's not really close to it, but it's closer to a level than Mara is. I don't really see any levels here. I mean, there's a gap fill at like $7. I don't know. Tesla, we already looked at Tesla. It'll be in the timestamps. I looked like all the time frames on Tesla. Please tell me you took some puts on Mara off that bearish watches. I did not. I wish I did though. This keeps happening. I look away from like a few stocks for like a few weeks, and I don't remember what were the names we looked at last night. I think like Lucid and a few others. I was just like surprised. Like I still haven't looked at so many stocks in in a while, and it's just crazy to see how much lower they are. Like just a few weeks ago, I feel like I was still remembering Amazon still testing this little make or break area of this larger pattern, and now you are 25% lower. Like I look away for a few weeks, and I'm sure a lot of you are seeing the same thing, like with so many different stocks. Like it's just crazy. Like it felt like we were selling off in Q1, like obviously, but what we've seen in like the past like 2 to 3 weeks on a lot of these names is like, whoa, it's like they're selling off and then there's literally crashing, which is what Amazon is doing right now. So it's very quietly testing this February high. It was this pre-COVID crash. I think this was wow. Oh my gosh. The COVID crash looks like a nothing on Amazon compared to what it did. I mean, percent wise, this is much worse than the COVID crash. It's almost double as worse as the COVID crash. But also, I mean, in between then and now, you also did do this, right? So, it's two ways to look at it. But I think Amazon has some strong support around this 2040, 2050 area. And then you could use fibs. I mean, I don't know where you want to start using your fibs from. If we're going to do it from like literally here, like, and I have to go like pinpoint this because it's hard to tell. Let's just do like all-time low, like IPO, when this was a penny stock, it looks like, to all-time highs. Your 50% retrace is pretty close. Even your 618 lines up with this 1420. But isn't this crazy? You just zoom out and go on the weekly, like it's like what looks like it's like the end of the world in the short term looks like a healthy pullback in the long term. But by long term, I mean like over 2 decades, right? So I don't know, it's just crazy. It took you a lot longer to do. Well, maybe it didn't actually. Maybe it didn't take a lot longer. You kind of did go straight up, and now you're just going straight back down, to be honest. It was what happened in between, just that major. This is like Wyckoff distribution, pretty much. Cheddar Freeze was talking about that, and a lot of us should have paid attention. APEUSD. Daily, I can't do anything. 4 hour. Looks like this little Gartley led to like a 24-25% move. And now I chart it like this on the 4-hour. Yeah. Keep in the like button if you didn't already. Zoom all-time lows pretty much being, well, I think today it hit a new all-time low. Not an all-time low, but your lowest level since January 2020. It is like the whole entire chart is just one like major like X, A, B, C, D. It's not a textbook harmonic, but you had that, you know, what was that, 5 waves or whatever. Regardless of that, levels, I'd say the next one's like 78, 67, unless it can break back above 97-ish. These highs over here, and this low over here, and these lows. So those are your levels. Just focus on that. Not financial advice, but okay, skills for fun, not fun, but see, this is also the thing, and we were talking about those like huge like wedges before. This is also the thing. Not only like, you know, trying to time them in this area, not only is that a lot harder than it seems, but even if they do break out, what if something like this happens, right? From a textbook technical standpoint, this asset was in a wedge for almost a year. It broke out of the wedge, and what did it do upon breaking out of the wedge? It fell another 35%. Like, this is a brutal market. So new all-time lows. Maybe you try like a new mini wedge over here, but I think in general you just want to start seeing some higher lows and higher highs, and probably do some DD. And yes, it's probably, I don't know what's the position looking like in the simulator ETF. It was a very small size either way, but it just doesn't make sense, a lot of these, and that's why you got to manage risk, because sometimes technicals just won't make sense. They just won't play out. AMD, this is a premium swing. It already hit first target. Still just maybe retesting the PCZ of this bullish bat. Really the same analysis as last night. Hopefully you can hold this $84, $85 area, get this double bottom in, kind of like a dragon pattern too. If not, then, you know, next major support's like 74. I think I said the same thing last night. All right, so that's it for the stream tonight. Thank you for watching the stream. Good luck to everybody on both sides, bears and bulls, for CPI numbers tomorrow. We'll see what happens. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, join the Discord, links in the description. If you want to join premium, the link's in the description. If you want to watch the free course, links in the description. And if you want to donate crypto to Ukraine, you guessed it, the link is also in the description. Have a good night and peace out.
I could be hard or I could be weak. I could be anything you need. Yes, I will always be good company. I could be off or I could be on. I could be anything you want. Yes, I will always be. Yes, I will always be good company. Jokes and secrets too, and I've made promises to folks, and I followed my words through. I could be hard or I could be weak. I could be anything you need. Yes, I will always be good company. Yes, I will always be. Yes, I will always be good company. Well, I could be right or I could be wrong. You could turn back or come along. What lies ahead I cannot guarantee. We could be last or we could be first. We could move on or in reverse. But either way I'll be your company. But either way I'll be your company. I could be hard or I could be weak. I could be anything you